Hi, Rosie Malidi here from Life is Short magazine. And if you have ever dreamed of being a journalist, or if you have a passion that you love to write about and would love to submit them to magazines and newspapers for publication, or maybe you've always wanted to be a celebrity journalist, well, if any of these things tick your boxes, listen in, because today I'm talking to James Swanswick and he teaches people how to be a journalist. So I'm going to pop over now and ask James all his secrets of how to be a journalist without zero qualifications, and how you can actually get paid for writing about the things you love, and also how you can get to be a celebrity journalist, as I say, without qualifications or without working for a particular magazine. So James, you're very welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Rosie.
Oh, good to have you here. So James, just tell us a little bit about your background. By your accent, you're not from LA, although you're currently in Venice Beach living the life. So could you just tell us how you got into doing celebrity journalism, because that's what actually you do, and how you end up where you are?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm Australian, obviously. I grew up in Brisbane, Australia, and I'm now living in Los Angeles. But when I was a 17-year-old kid, I just finished high school, and I managed to organise work experience at a Rupert Murdoch broadsheet newspaper in Brisbane, in my hometown. And then that work experience led into a job, and I ended up doing 6 years at a newspaper from age 17 through 23 while going to university part-time. So my training really was on the job, and I got that from just hustling, from knowing people, from like asking to work for free. From there, I moved to London in 1999. I became a sports journalist working for SkySports.com. I covered the cricket and rugby World Cups. Then I moved to Los Angeles in 2003 and started interviewing movie stars like Tom Cruise and George Clooney, Jennifer Aniston, Angelina Jolie. And I became, a Hollywood correspondent. I interviewed these movie stars, and then I would sell the stories to magazines and newspapers in England and in Australia and in Dubai and South Africa. Then I created a news agency where I hired about 70 journalists to, give me their stories, and then I would sell their stories on their behalf. That transitioned into a business and entrepreneurial career, and now I coach people in business and journalism, and via my course Insider Journalism Secrets. And yeah, I've been living in Los Angeles living in the US anyway for the past 11 years.
Okay. And how did you get to interview Jennifer Aniston and all those gorgeous and lovely people without actually being part of a magazine?
Yeah, so just before I moved to Los Angeles in 2003, I was in London. So what I did was I phoned up the movie studios publicity departments in London. So that's 20th Century Fox, Universal, Paramount, Sony Pictures, Warner Brothers. I phoned them all up. I literally got the number from the phone book. This is before I used internet or much of the time. And I called them and I said, let me talk to the publicity department. And one of them called me back. It was a woman from Sony Pictures. And I said, I'm moving to Los Angeles. I want to interview movie stars. How can I help promote your movies in the UK and UK magazines? And she basically told me how the whole thing worked. And that was, if I convinced a magazine to let me interview a movie star for them, she would then give me access to the movie star to interview, which would in turn help promote their film. So before I left, I went to Loaded magazine in the UK, which is like a men's version of Maxim or FHM, and I met them and I said, I'm moving to Los Angeles. I'm going to interview movie stars. And I said, yeah, whatever. Okay, nice to meet you, but didn't really believe me. I moved to Los Angeles. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, I got an email from the same woman that I had spoken to at Sony Pictures saying, hey, James, we've got an interview opportunity with Jack Nicholson for the movie Anger Management in 2 weeks in Beverly Hills. Would you be interested in interviewing him? If you could get Loaded magazine to publish the story, then I'll give you access to Jack Nicholson. And I said, yes, absolutely. Of course, I then contacted Loaded magazine and said, what if I interviewed Jack Nicholson for you? Would that be okay? And they said, yes, absolutely. And so 2 weeks later, I found myself at the Armitage Hotel in Beverly Hills interviewing Jack Nicholson in a one-on-one interview for 20 minutes. And it was amazing. It was everything that you could imagine that it would be. It was incredible. This is like an absolute icon of Hollywood film and cinema. And, I got that story published. I did the interview. I sent it through to Loaded magazine. They published the story. I then photocopied that article about 20 times and sent it out to, a whole bunch of other magazines and newspapers in Australia and the UK and other movie studios and said, hey, look, here's my interview with Jack Nicholson. I'm a Hollywood correspondent. I'm interviewing these people. And then slowly but surely, magazines started contacting me and said, hey, can you interview Arnold Schwarzenegger for me? My second interview was Arnold Schwarzenegger for the film Terminator 3, which at the time was his last movie that he made before he became the Californian governor. So it just snowballed from there. All it took was one interview, getting it published, showing people that I was out there doing it, and then from there I just started interviewing everyone, George Clooney and Jennifer Aniston and all those people.
Wow, I love that story. That is so brilliant. So you really just played one off against the other, sort of went, okay, Loaded, if I get you an interview, and then went to the other one and said, look, I might be able to get you into Loaded. Yep. That's really...
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and at the time, Loaded magazine didn't have anyone in Los Angeles who were interviewing people. They were a UK-based magazine, so the fact that I was actually going to be there, I became quite valuable to them. And I ended up having a 5-year relationship with Loaded magazine, and I interviewed, all these great action stars, Daniel Craig, Pierce Brosnan. And, if there's one lesson that I took out of that, it's literally just make the phone call. Just go and meet the person. Just go and turn up. Woody Allen, the famous director out of New York, who's made 100 movies, always says that 80% of success is just showing up. Just show up. Just pick up the phone. I called the movie studio, and then I called Loaded magazine, and that led to an interview with Jack Nicholson, which led to a whole career interviewing movie stars.
Yeah, because like the publicity departments want the publicity for the movies, and the magazines want the decent interviews. So if you can do both, well, if you play off one against the other as such. So and I know that it's like journalism has been something that you've always been into, because I was on your website just before the interview, and I saw you doing your first role when you were a kid in front of the camera.
Oh yes.
Funny. So what I was going to say is, and on your site you actually talk about how a journalism degree actually doesn't really help you get a job in journalism, and could you just take us through what you like the steps that you actually share on your site, and people can go over. I'll put a link to the site below, and people can see it, but the steps that people can go through to actually kick off their journalism career.
Yeah, look, if you want to get a job in journalism, if you want to get a job working for a newspaper, magazine, or a television show, don't waste your money going to college and spending 3 years and $100,000 or whatever it costs to go and get a degree. I mean, do that. You'll pick up some good skills. That's fine. But I've got a much better use of your time and your money, and that is simply contact the newspapers, the magazines, the TV shows directly and offer them story suggestions. Offer to work for free for them. Offer them suggestions on how their show could be better. Get the attention of the TV show's producer, get the attention of the newspaper's editor, get the attention of the radio program's producer, etc. And then just rinse and repeat. Too many people go to college, they get a degree, they learn how to write a story, they come out, and then they just send resumes off to these magazines and newspapers. I have never got a job from sending a resume. Never. Never, ever. Okay? And I'm 38. I'm going to be 40 soon. So I've been working for 20 years, and I've never got a job from sending in a resume. The best way to do is whatever show you want to work for, whatever newspaper you want to write for, understand that publication, understand that media outlet, and think of 3 good story ideas. Then find out who the contact person is at that particular TV show or newspaper or magazine, and call them or email them and suggest these 3 story ideas. For example, hey, Loaded Magazine, my name is Jane Smith, and I really liked your article last month on fast cars. Here are 3 other story suggestions that I think your readers might like on the same subject. 1, Ferraris have got a really big engine in and out right now, and there's a person who's making Ferraris in his backyard outside of London, and I thought maybe that might make a good picture story. Or 2, there's a there's a safety issue now with the Porsches, and I think if people don't fix that safety issue, then Porsches are going to crash. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just making stuff up here, but just think of story ideas, okay, and send it through to the producer or the editor. I've been a producer, I've been an editor. I love it when viewers or readers suggest story ideas to me. Okay, I love it because they're essentially doing my job for me. My job is to come up with story ideas, and I've got readers who are giving me story ideas. I'm like, thank you so much. And when that happens, the person who sent me those ideas is going to remember. I'm going to remember that person. I'm going to hire that person because that shows initiative. That's got my attention. Mm-hmm. So, you know, anyone listening or watching right now, you want to get a job in journalism, understand the media organization you want to work for, suggest 3 story ideas, find the person of influence who hires people at that media outlet, and send those story suggestions to that person. Not just once, but do it twice, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Just do it every week, and then finally say, can I come in and do work experience? Or I would like to work for you for free, or I'll write this story for you. That is how you get hired in today's marketplace. That is how you will get your journalism career off the ground.
And I loved also your suggestion of specialising in a niche. That's actually something that people tend to do wrong as well. They tend to generalise articles rather than specialising, finding out something that they're passionate about and actually sticking to that topic and finding out everything they need to know. I think that's actually one really good tips that you actually do as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, if you want to be a fashion reporter, then read fashion magazines and contact the fashion magazines and show them how knowledgeable you are on fashion. If you're a motorsports reporter and you apply for a job at a fashion magazine at Vogue, are they going to hire you? No way they're going to hire you. So make sure that you let the person know, you let the media organization know what you're really knowledgeable in. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if you're really knowledgeable in health and fitness, make sure you tell all the health and fitness magazines that you are a health and fitness fanatic and that you understand that. If you're a business expert and you've run a business and now you want to report on business, make sure you tell the person, I owned my own business. I understand how business works. This is why I would be a good reporter, a good journalist for the business section of your newspaper, because I understand this. Because most of the hirers now in newspapers and magazines and TV shows, they're not hiring journalism graduates. They're hiring graduates of other industries, right? Or people who are really knowledgeable in a particular field. For example, they're hiring someone who absolutely 100% knows everything about fashion versus someone who's got a journalism degree and can write a story about fashion. So it's really important that you know what your passion is, know what your area of interest is, know what you're what you're most knowledgeable in, and promote that aspect of you rather than, hey, I've got a journalism degree.
Yeah, because just to back up what you're saying, that you're not just the crazy mad editor you were, when I was editing magazines as well, I had like a staff of 20, and like that, I didn't look at any of their resumes. I looked at sample articles they sent in, and if I liked their, if their style suited me or if they were good at what they wrote. So, it really is about if you can write. You don't need a degree to actually do it. So I think that's a really good point. But people can learn more from your website. And again, do you want to just give it a plug there? Tell us exactly where people can find you and what they'll find there.
Yeah, sure. If you want, I've got a course called Insider Journalism Secrets, and it's 2 ebooks that I've written about how to get a job in journalism. And then I've interviewed 7 leading journalists around the world, 1-hour-long interviews, and you get the transcripts of those interviews as well. It's called Insider Journalism Secrets. You can grab that at insiderjournalismsecrets.com, or you can subscribe at my website, jamesswanwick.com, which is JAMESSWANWICK.com. Either one of those 2 websites, and you can get a lot of journalism-specific information. Yeah.
Great. And I'll have a link over on the site as well. And if people are watching this on YouTube, they can actually click below and find out all that good stuff. So people can find you.
Thanks so much, Rosie.
On your website. As I say, the links are below. And James, it was very good talking to you.